Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and today Apple released iOS 26.5 Beta 3. iOS 26.5 Beta 3 is available around the world at the same time for developers on all iOS 26 supported devices. iOS 26.5 Public Beta 3 should be out by the time you're watching this video or later this week. Now this came in at 1.78 gigabytes. That's on the iPhone 17 Pro Max. It was similarly sized on the other devices here, where Apple also released iPadOS 26.5 Beta 3, macOS 26.5 Beta 3, tvOS and HomePodOS 26.5 Beta 3, watchOS 26.5 Beta 3, and also visionOS 26.5 Beta 3, along with some older Mac updates as well. Now, as far as the overall update, let's go ahead and take a look at the build number and talk about what's new. We'll go into Settings, then we'll go to General, then Software Update, wait for it to load, tap More Details, and then we'll tap the version number. And as you can see, the build number is 23F5059E. This particular build is more about bug fixes and less about features coming from Beta 2, but we'll talk about all the features as well. The first thing we do have, though, is a modem update, and hopefully this helps with overall connectivity, as I was traveling last weekend and found that connectivity just wasn't that great overall, and I was having all sorts of issues on the 17 Pro Max with Beta 2. So hopefully it's improved with Beta 3. Of course, it will take a few days to test that out. Now, as far as new features, so far I haven't found any features coming from Beta 2 to Beta 3, with the exception of some splash screens telling us about new features. The first one had to do with the TV app. So if we go over into the TV app, I got a splash screen for Formula 1 on Apple TV, as well as MLS is now included with Apple TV. So that's something that's new that showed up this time around. Also, there's an update when the first time you open up the App Store, you'll get a new splash screen. So I've already gone into this, but let's take a look. And you'll see a screenshot I captured from it says, "Welcome to the App Store, a safe and trusted place to discover amazing apps and games, explore timely in-app events, and browse daily stories and recommendations by our editors." So that was new going into the App Store. And of course, it seems like every time around there's a new splash screen for Apple Vision Pro talking about discovering new content, getting your Vision Pro ready, and sharing with AirPlay. Now, we'll talk about bugs and bug fixes in a moment, but just to recap the features so far that are in iOS 26.5, we'll go over those, but if you want to jump around, be sure to check out the chapters in the description. Now, the first thing is end-to-end encryption is back, at least in the betas. And you'll see within the RCS messaging options, within Messages, we have end-to-end encryption. Now, this does seem to work depending on the carrier you're testing with and the phone you're testing with, but it does seem to work from time to time. But again, it's in beta, but hopefully it works for everyone very soon once this releases to the public. In Europe, you'll have the option for notification forwarding. They've removed it since the last beta in the USA, and this allows you to forward different notifications, maybe to third-party watches and things like that, or other devices as well. Maps gets an update. The main update in Maps has to do with search, and you'll see we have some new icons here for some of the suggested categories, such as restaurants, fast food, gas stations, and more. We also have suggested places, and unfortunately we had a splash screen before with Beta 2 talking about ads that are going to be added here as well, just to be shown in your search dialog. So this is something coming in the future. Within the Clock app, if you go into your alarms and your sleep alarm, you'll see you'll have a new option to always play on iPhone. It says when you wear your Apple Watch to bed, your alarm will play on your iPhone and Apple Watch, so it's a new option there. When you go to transfer or reset your iPhone, they updated this so that when transferring to Android, you'll now be able to decide how far back you want to transfer messages from, with the option from none, 30 days, 1 year, or all if you select this option. So if you're transferring to Android, you'll have a few more options this time around. And when you go to add a new keyboard, you'll have a new option for Inuktitut. This is also available for Latin as well. When it comes to bugs and bug fixes, well, the good news is they've fixed quite a few things. For example, if I lock my phone, unlock it and swipe up, the animation is nice and smooth now, where before it was just sort of jumpy that you can see here. So this has Beta 2 on it. If we unlock it, swipe up, you'll see it just jumps every time. So they've resolved that issue, and it also works the same when you go to your notification center, swipe back up, it's nice and smooth. Live activities are now updating properly as well, where before it would delay the sports live activities, maybe not updating you with the correct score. Now it's working properly in real time. Notifications should also be working properly now, where sometimes they were delayed, so some people were seeing a delay there, and it looks like it's resolved. Also, text to Siri was fixed with the last beta, but the good news is it's nice and fast this time around, so it seems to work much faster. So if I type Apple, You'll see here, it's nice and fast, keeps up in real time, and is very smooth. Also, Spotlight Search seems to be working properly. So again, Apple, you'll see it shows apps. If I get rid of Vision Pro, it will then bring in suggestions for just Apple itself. So this is working, again, nice and fast, like you would expect. When it comes to Apple CarPlay, of course, it will take a few days to know whether or not it works properly. However, it seems those that are having issues seem to be vehicle specific. For example, a while ago, it was causing issues with Mercedes-Benz. Now I've heard from people that Jeeps are having difficulty connecting properly. It's working fine for me, not disconnecting, but again, it'll take a few days to notice and see if it happens concurrently or if it's just fixed altogether. But let me know in the comments below your experience with it, and of course, we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video. And of course, I have to mention the wallpaper bug. It appears that it's fixed for most people, but maybe in the most saturated areas, such as this orange in the upper left, when I swipe home, it's not as saturated as the lock screen. So I'm not sure if they've actually resolved it, but it's less noticeable, at least in this beta. As far as other updates today, Apple updated the Sports app, and you'll see here to version 3.10, and it says get ready for World Cup 2026, follow your favorite teams, and explore the groups on Apple Sports before the tournament kicks off in June. Also, F1 fans can now see weather conditions for each Grand Prix, check track temperature, wind speed, and more, and then there's a smaller widget that's now available for Apple Sports, and it also works in CarPlay. So make sure you update this if you use Apple Sports. There's no notification whether or not this is coming to other countries soon, but hopefully Apple pushes it as many people are really starting to like this app. When it comes to releases, we could see iOS 26.4.2 as soon as tomorrow. Apple is working on it. MacRumors shows it in their analytics, typically like they do before an update releases. And I talked about this in the weekend follow-up, where Apple stopped signing iOS 26.4, leaving only iOS 26.4.1 for either downgrade or maybe updating to. So this means usually that they're going to push out another version, and since we're a few betas off from the public release of iOS 26.5, I would expect 26.4.2 very soon. Now, iOS 26.5 Beta 4 could release as soon as next week. However, we could also see an RC or release candidate, and depending on what they push out there, depends on when we'll get the public version. If they push out a Beta 4 on the 27th, we could see an RC on the 4th with a public release around the 11th. However, if we get the RC next week, we could see a public release as soon as May 4th. So we could see that, and of course all of us are waiting for iOS 27, and we'll see that for the first time on June 8th at WWDC 2026. So that's what I'm looking most forward to, where we'll finally get some stability, and of course some new features and upgrades. Now, if you're wondering if you should install iOS 26.5 Beta 3, well, if you're on Beta 2 or Public Beta 2, definitely install this update, as it seems to fix a lot of the issues you may have been having with the beta, and of course continue to test your apps that you're developing and other things as well. Performance-wise, it seems to be much faster, much smoother overall. Going into the App Store, for example, things just seem to be smoother. Not perfect. They do stutter from time to time, but things like ProMotion seem to be nice and fast, like you would expect, and going back and forth between pages occasionally stutters, but generally it seems to be nice and smooth, much better than it was with Beta 2. When it comes to overall heat, of course the phone is going to heat up when it's doing intensive processing, updating the OS, but it seems to be nice and cool at this point. And it will hopefully get a little bit better as it continues to index, finish that process, and again, we'll talk about that in the weekend follow-up video. When it comes to battery life, let's go ahead and take a look. We'll go back, go to battery health. This has got 100% capacity with 65 cycles. It's my main phone that I use every day. And if we take a look at battery usage on Beta 2, it was not that great. 1 hour and 58 minutes of screen active time, 1 hour and 2 minutes of screen idle time with 51% of my battery used. Now, many people are seeing an improvement. I'm just having poor battery life in general, but it is getting me through the day as I use multiple devices. But you'll see today, 3 hours and 5 minutes of screen active time using just 47%. So hopefully this gets much better toward the weekend. Now, as far as overall storage, let's go ahead and take a look at that compared to Beta 2. So if we go to General and then iPhone Storage, scroll to the bottom, let's take a look, and you'll see on the left is Beta 2, on the right is Beta 3, and iOS is taking up just a little bit less storage as far as the overall system itself at 14.23 gigabytes. Apple Intelligence is identical, so we are saving a little bit. Of course, when you install an update, it overwrites the previous update. You're not taking up additional storage. And again, with system data, as I've mentioned before, this goes up and down as needed. It's cache data. It explains some of that here as well, so I really wouldn't worry about that. When it comes to benchmarks, I've run it 3 times on this device, and if we go into our CPU benchmark in history, you'll see the best score we've had so far is 3,795 for single core, 9,904 for multi-core. So doing quite well, and if we take a look at the previous 2 that I ran earlier today, it definitely bumped up, and it's better than beta 2 so far. So it looks like it is performing better, and of course it's well within the margin of error, but it feels smoother overall. So that's everything so far with iOS 26.5 beta 3. Of course, if I find more features, we'll talk about it in the weekend follow-up video, and if you've found anything, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Of course, I'll link this wallpaper in the description like I normally do, and if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe, and if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.